Hey everybody.
Hello everyone.
Hey, welcome back. We've been gone for a while and we just wanted you guys to know we really missed you. We didn't have to, but we went out of town and it ended up being like 30 days. We did some work in Nebraska, which is about 1,200 miles from where we were at. They were 3 massive jobs, so we went out and did those, and then Angela's mother died.
Yeah, my mom died at the very beginning of the trip. So we had to deal with all of that stuff kind of in between. We had to come back and forth from Denver to Nebraska for a lot of different reasons. And during that time, we just kept dealing with the funeral. And yeah.
Yep, it was a crazy trip. We've never really done a trip like that before, where we've traveled from Nebraska to Denver and Nebraska to Denver, back and forth. I don't know how many times. What, 4 or 5? Five times. Then our truck broke down in the middle of it, and it was quite the trip. We even got stuck in Wyoming, going out there in a snowstorm.
Couldn't get to my mom, who was dying, and we were stuck in this horrible storm. 2 nights in a hotel.
2 days. So anyway, we made it back, and then we said, I'm ready to travel, me and Angela. So we thought, we're going to sell our house. And so anyway, we've been just working crazily, haven't we?
Yes.
Doing remodels and getting it all, put together so we can get the best price we can get on it. So it's about done. We just got some cleanup and thinning down, and then we'll be ready to move. You guys got any suggestions? Let us know. We're thinking out toward Arizona.
Yep, probably Arizona.
Somewhere out there. So anyway, that's where we're looking to go. But anyway, we sure missed you guys. We miss all you guys. We love all you guys. You guys are incredible. You guys are doing great. I noticed the work is still continuing. Everybody's doing videos. Everybody's exposing these guys, and that's wonderful.
It is wonderful.
And today what I wanted to talk about, I really want you to hear this, and I want you to know this, that your best life after the Jehovah's Witnesses is right ahead of you. I'm telling you. I mean, we had a pretty good life in there, where we had our, fellowship, and, we ate together. We went to meetings. We had this like little brotherhood. Paradise tomorrow. And then that illusion shattered. And we kind of wondered, who are we? We kind of went through confusion, anger. I didn't really think the Watchtower was going to abandon me when I left. I really didn't think my mother, I really didn't believe it when I left, that my mother was going to abandon me, my brothers. I thought we were close, And sure enough, boy, they all went away. Watchtower makes sure when you leave that you don't take nothing with you, not even your family.
And everybody's aware of that. It goes on everywhere all the time.
And so that was the biggest shock. But you know what the bigger shock was? What I didn't realize was the altered reality that I was in. They say the witness world is a world within the world, meaning we're all on planet Earth, right? But the witness world is a world within the big world. And we are in our own little world, just like Angela was in the worldwide. You're in a world within a world. You're the only ones who are right. You're the only ones who are, going to get paradise or whatever.
It's kind of an illusion within the illusion.
Yeah. And
Can I wear my sunglasses? You guys mind?
Yeah.
Okay. It's
a little bit bright out here.
Yeah, it is.
But anyway, the good news that I want to tell you is just beyond, and I mean this, just beyond this programming, if you'll allow yourself to come out of the fog, come out of the anger. And I'm going to tell you, I was angry for a lot of years. I was mad for a lot of years. I felt abandoned. It's a horrible feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
When your family abandons you, it's the most horrible feeling. It's like, hello, I'm here. We don't want nothing to do with you. It's the most horrible feeling. But I'm telling you, if you can get through that, and here's what made me think of this talk today, was this crucifixion, right? Jesus was crucified, and then he went into the tomb. There was like 3 stages to it. He was crucified and all beat up, and then he went into the tomb, and they rolled a big stone in front of him, right? And then the stone was rolled away, and he come out, and he ascended, right? Well, that is also, and listen to this is also a pathway for you and me. It's called death, resurrection, and ascension. And before you think I'm out of place or saying it wrong, Jesus said, as I was crucified, you also would be crucified. Now, what does that mean? We're going to be on a torture stake or a cross, and we're going to get beaten? No, crucifixion means what it means. You've heard it say, man, that dude crucified him, man. He knocked the hell out of him, man. He was crucified. Well, that's what happens to us, right? When we leave the Jehovah's Witnesses, right? Or any religion. When we leave, there's a literal crucifixion. They're going to let us know you did the wrong thing. You left us. You went back to Satan. You did this. You did this. And so we feel beat to hell. Also, we feel lost. Also, we feel abandoned and we feel angry when we come out of that. And we don't know where to go. So what's that? Now I want to relate this to Jesus in the tomb and the resurrection and the ascension.
And by the way, today's Easter, okay?
Yeah, that's Easter. That's what made me think about it. Because here's the thing, guys. There's turning points in our life. And that's what I really want to hit today is the turning point. I got to talk about the turning point where I decided to turn this way instead of this way. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And I want to go into that. But anyway, going into the tomb is, when we left the witnesses, right, we were crucified, right? We were crucified by our families. We were judged. We were thrown out. Our names were made bad. He's no good. He went back to Satan, all that stuff, right? You guys know that. So we went into this tomb, right? This stone was rolled in front of us, which means we can't see. We're in a tomb, right? We're enclosed. We can't see. We don't know where we're going. It's like being in the wilderness, right?
Yeah, in the darkness.
In the darkness, wandering in the wilderness, whatever you want to call it. but you've lost your infrastructure. You've lost your family. You even wonder, did I do the right thing? Jehovah, is he mad at me, not mad at me? What's going on? You go back and forth.
It absolutely feels like a death, doesn't it?
Yes.
It does.
It's like a death. So you enter the tomb. You die to this whole world infrastructure that you lived in. Call it an illusion, call it the Matrix, whatever you want it. But it definitely was a paradigm that we lived in. And when that crumbles, there's nothing there. Where do I go? Where do I go next? What's next? What's out there? We had the truth, right?
Right.
And so
there's a lot of chaos and confusion at that point. A lot of fear,
That's right.
As you well know.
And so, but see, in the story of Jesus, the rock rolled away, the big boulder rolled away, and then what happened? Jesus came out, and then he not only came out, but then he ascended, and that is the same message for us. As we come out of the witnesses, we go through our anger and all the things that I said, all the feelings, all the ups and downs, because a death is a death. Whether you lose a wife, whether you lose a job, whether you lose your religion, God, whoever.
Your health.
It's a real death. It's a real calamity. And you really don't know who you are anymore, right?
Right.
And so, but here's the thing. If you decide, okay, what was happening to me was I was getting angry. I was carrying this anger, this rage. I was also carrying the story with me everywhere, right? I was going around telling everybody, man, let me tell you what it's like to be a witness. And it was just what that was, right? And I want to say this. Do not get me wrong. There is a time to tell your story. I still tell my story, but I don't tell it from the perspective of a person that's still dead. You know what I mean? Like I rose, right? I rose out of the tomb. And I said, no, not me. I'm not going down. Watchtower is not going to be the last chapter in my life. Watchtower will not be the last chapter in my life. It's a chapter. It's a chapter that my family gave to me. Well,
it no longer defines who you are.
Yes.
It did define you. And you thought that you were this and you were that. I believe this. I believe that. I know I have the truth. It defined everything about you in every area of your life. But when you get out, you're not defined by that anymore. You determine what you are defined by at this point.
That's right. And see, at that point, I thought I was a religion. If you ask, who are you? I'd say, I'm a Jehovah's Witness. No, you're quite a bit more than a Jehovah's Witness, because here's the thing. When that Jehovah's Witness part of me died, that part that I let die, that I said, no, I don't want no more part of, when that died, Dan was still here. What is here? I thought I was a witness. No, you're made in God's image and likeness. You're powerful. You're magnificent. You're made by the hand of God, and you're not separated from God. No matter what. No matter what. So that was a big thing for me. But what I want to say is this. I told my story, but I was getting into that part where I was telling my story kind of like poor me. Poor me. And I wasn't coming out of it. And this lady had the courage to tell me, she goes, Dan, be careful, be careful. You know, she said it like this. She said, she looked at me in the eyes and she said, you remember Marcia?
Yes.
She looked me in the eye and she grabbed me by the hand and she said, Dan, listen to me. She says, I hear you. I love you. I'm sorry that happened. The Jehovah's Witnesses, I'm sorry that happened. And she says, and I said, thank you. And I said, no. She says, I really do hear you. So she validated me, right?
Yeah, she validated you.
And when she validated me, I said, thank you, Marcia. Thank you for that. And then she said, the most shocking thing that I ever heard in my life, she said, but do you want to get well? And I said, what the hell does that mean? Do you want to get well? She said, well, there's a part where you can tell your story from a victim perspective. And if you don't know what victim is, look it up. Look it up. Because some people hear victim and they go, oh, he won't let me tell my story. Dan won't let me tell my story. He's a bad guy. You know, all that kind of stuff we've heard online. But I'm not saying that. A victim destroys his life. He lets Watchtower take his life. He just goes on and on. They hurt me. They destroyed me. They never, I can't get better. I can't do anything because I lost all these years of my life and they fucked me and they did that, you know, on and on.
Because they still believe in the definition that the witnesses have. It's like a programming, but that definition that they made, this defines a godly person, a person of Jehovah. This defines you, and you're now out of that. But yet you're still believing, even though you're out, you're still believing the definition and that the lies of definition that they have created for you to believe. That's really no longer serving you. It's not helping you. You're not going to get better that way. And, you know, you have to set that aside. Not easy. But
no, it isn't. But you know what helped me was she said, Dan, you know, go to this one group. I'm not going to go with what the group is, but it was a group of people that were hurting like me, right? It's a strange group, but it was a bunch of people that were hurt by religion, hurt by sexual things, hurt by all sorts of things, right? And all these people were in their healing. And man, I started listening to their story. There was 300 of us. And I'm in this room and everybody's crying and I'm looking over there and I'm looking over there and this big guy's crying and he's the president of the Cherry Creek School. He's the principal. And man, these people have been raped. These people had religious trauma like we did. They've been beaten by their priests, screwed by their priests, you know, everything else. And I went, oh my God. What I saw was I wasn't the only one.
Right.
And I think we need to know that. I think we need to know we're not the only ones, guys. Everybody was born into a womb of some sort, right? Some people were born into a womb where their parents were drug addicts, you know, alcoholics. They've had the hell beat out of them, right? They've had their heads knocked off. I got my head hit so many times by my dad just smacking me on the back of the head, And other women have been raped by their fathers. You know, I mean, it's been horrible, right? So I'm listening to these stories, and that's one of the things that helped me was you aren't the only one, Dan. You witnesses aren't the only one. Quit acting like you're the only one, Dan.
Or the only one who's quote, damaged goods.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you come out feeling like you're
That's
damaged.
the victim.
Like that. Yeah.
It only happened to me. Let me tell you my story.
Like, I'm ruined. Dan used to say I'm ruined. You know,
I
my
did.
wife leaving me, she ruined me, he used to say, because he didn't believe in divorce. Like his mom and dad never got divorced, and the church, the organization doesn't believe in it. Oh my gosh, I'm permanently ruined.
I did. I thought I missed football. I missed this. I didn't get to play in sports. You know, very little. You know, just I'd start a sport, and then my dad would find out, knock hell out of me, and I'd have to leave.
But everyone says I'm the only one this has happened to.
Everyone.
That's what makes us a victim. And I've been a victim before. I remember this lady said to me after I'd been out for, I don't know, 5 years, she says, Angela, you know, you're a victim. And I'm like, what? And I was so insulted, like, what in the world? And Dan was,
it's insulting.
He had to realize that he was a victim. We've all been victims.
I fell in love with my story instead of the story of who I could become.
Right.
I spent more time telling the story about what they did to me in my life and how it sucks than I did about the transformation that happened after I left. And that is the good news. That is the good news. The other thing the lady told me real quick was, you know, and this one really hit me. He said, you know, I think you might have a drinking problem, you know? And man, I was mad. I was like, how dare you? Don't call me an alcoholic. I only drink a fifth every other day, you know? And I buy, 3 6-packs of beer and 2 bottles of wine and, a couple of bottles of Jack.
The witnesses taught you, right?
Yeah, I learned it there.
Yeah.
And I had brothers. I couldn't even go over their house unless I drank.
Right.
You're not going to make me drink alone, are you? But anyway, guys, the lady tells me about this drinking, right? And I'm like, how dare that lady? Who does she think I am? Well, you must hate men or something, right? And so she says, well, why don't you go with my husband to a 12-step, an AA meeting? And I was like, why not, And they were pretty well-to-do. I mean, they were doing real good in life. And I thought, well, they might know some things I don't know, Little did I know she was a Jehovah's Witness before and left.
She didn't tell him that.
She didn't tell me that. They went and got their
Jehovah's
degrees
Witness.
and became doctors and, all this stuff. But anyway, I go to this AA class, and sure enough, everyone's telling my story. You know what I mean? Did you do something like this? And did you do this? And I did that. And I thought, that's me. That's me. My God, that's me.
Yeah, first you say, I'm not one of them.
Yeah, denial,
I
they
did
call
that.
it. Denial.
Oh my gosh, I'm not one of them.
I'm not one of them. No way.
No way.
Don't tell me. I've actually told that to some witnesses. I said, you might want to look at you drinking. I just noticed you, when you come on different shows and stuff, you kind of sound like you've had it. How dare you, Dan? What are you calling me an alcoholic? Yeah. Well, I went through the same thing with that lady. But you know what? I realized I was. And that was the second thing that I did. So one of the first things I did was I said, I'm just not going to be so excited about my story because my story ain't that great compared to a lot of others. I can't really compete, right?
Yeah.
So I started not telling the story. Then I started weaning myself off alcohol. And those were huge, massive turning points. And it wasn't long after that, I meet Angela, right?
Yeah, he quit drinking.
I quit drinking. And
He met me, and he couldn't tell me that he doesn't drink anymore, so he started having a little wine with me, and next thing you know, he's drinking too much wine.
Like 2 bottles. Her mother goes, did you just drink?
It really wasn't that
it
much.
Wasn't that much?
It was 1 full bottle, but she was freaking out about it.
She freaked out over 1. I drank the other one by myself.
Oh, you did? I didn't
anyway,
notice.
But anyway, yeah, her mother noticed everything. She's like, he just drank that whole bottle of wine. I'm like, yeah, I was just getting started. You know what I mean? But
I didn't think it was that bad.
Angela's like on our wedding day, she's like, are you an alcoholic?
No, a month before he tells me, hey, Angela, I need to tell you I'm an alcoholic. I'm like, what? Oh, no, he says, is it okay if I don't drink at the wedding? I'm like, well, yeah, sure. What? Why? And all of a sudden, ding, it hits me. You're an alcoholic. He goes, yeah.
Angela's like, oh my God, I'm marrying an alcoholic.
Yeah, but he hadn't been drinking for a good bit.
No.
He quit drinking at that point.
But that was it. I felt like, you know what? God put Angela in my life, put real love in my life. I've got real love from her. I had real love to give her. And I thought, I don't want to screw that up, right? And then so many opportunities came, guys. My eyes were open, right? I wasn't looking anymore through the lens of Jehovah's Witness and just us versus them. They all got to go. And
it began to be that way.
It began to be that way.
Right. First, you come out of denial of the fact that, I do act like a victim. I act like all these people in this room. They're all victims. Oh my God. I tell the same story. I'm a victim. It's true. So you come out of denial. You admit. That's step number 1. It not that you stop being a victim at that point, because that's not what happened with me. I kept being a victim, but I slowly began to realize that that's a victim, and I'm acting like a victim. I'm telling my story. I'm acting like I'm the only one who's had this crazy bad story. Oh shoot, there I go again. And it takes time to wean yourself off of being a victim.
Yeah, and like I said, the way to know if you're getting into victim is when you're not getting back on your feet. I'm not talking about just coming out and jumping up on your feet and but I'm saying you're starting to come out. You're starting to find out, who am I? Who am I? What am I? Why am I here? All these different questions. You might even take some Myers-Briggs test or different personality test, or I went through all that,
that's good.
Trying to self-discovery, right?
Self-discovery.
Who am I now that I'm not a religion? Who am I now that I'm not defined by governing body?
Yeah.
Who am I now that I'm not defined by men? Who am I?
Who does God
is this
say I
Dan?
am?
Yeah, who does God say I am? That's a great
yeah.
one. And so that was the part of the journey, and everything started to unfold. Yeah, just so many things I've told you before. I started painting. Me and Angela started writing books. We started a business. All sorts of things.
I did a Christmas album.
Yeah, she did a Christmas album. We actually got to experience Christmas. Oh my God, this is so cool. Looking at the pretty lights and giving gifts to each other and drinking chocolate and singing some songs.
Eating chocolate.
Yeah, birthdays. Got to actually celebrate the fact that Angela was born and, is in my life, and she celebrates that with me, and just so many wonderful things. It can be truly the very, very best part of our life if we don't get swallowed up by what happened to us with Watchtower.
But the resurrection thing, that's what I feel like that God is
Go
doing.
ahead,
He's doing a resurrection.
Yeah, you're being resurrected.
God is resurrecting
Yes,
us.
and ascension too. Because I'm going to give you an example of Job, right? Job is a great example, right? They said he was the most righteous in all the earth, and then he lost all his stuff, right? He lost everything, right? That would be crucified, right? Man, Satan crucified him, he lost everything, right? And came in and said, well, take his this, take his that, take his this. And so he loses everything. His wife, I think, even too, right?
No.
Not his wife's kids or something.
The kids.
But he loses everything.
And servants.
He doesn't lose
Cattle.
sense of God, though. He gets his sense of God at a very much deeper level than he had before. And here's the beauty. Think about it. Job before was in hearsay, I heard about you, God. And then Job afterward, after he lost everything and sort of woke up from whatever, he says, now my own eyes do see you.
Yes.
So he saw totally different from what he saw before. They see, that's us with the witnesses. When we're in the witnesses, we only see through the goggles of JW ideology. We don't see nothing else. They tell you, to have tunnel vision. Don't look anywhere else. Look straight ahead. Do not look to the left. Do not study anything. Do not read any philosophy. Don't read any spiritual literature or anything. So they keep you in the tunnel, right?
Yeah, they do. They do. And Job, same thing with Job. He was in the same kind of religious situation that we were in when we left our cults, right? Because they were telling him, well, Job, come on, admit it. What have you done wrong? You've done something wrong to deserve all of this. What is it? I know. You didn't tithe enough of all of your goods. That's why. That's why. Accuse are the brethren, right? And so he was just so sick of it. I'm sure he wanted to kick him off the property, but they were his good friends, and they wanted to try to help him to get to the bottom of it. And his wife said, just kill yourself and curse God and be done with all of this. And, it's like he had to step away from all that and say, no. And no, I'm not going to curse God, but I am angry. Why is all this happening to me? And then finally God steps in and he realizes, like Dan said, in hearsay, I heard about you from my religion, from my friends, from the way that I have believed my whole life, that when things go wrong, I must have done something wrong. And that's why nobody says anything in churches anymore about anything, because then people are going to think, oh, well, then you're not serving God correctly, because that wouldn't have happened to you. You're not in right relationship. Something's wrong. This wouldn't have happened to you if you would be, doing whatever it is you're not doing right, the correct way. That's not how it is at all. Like Job, you found out that he lost everything, not having done anything wrong at all, except for he worried. That's it. And so did he deserve it? You know what I'm saying? It's like, no, that's not correct teaching. And that's what he learned. And so now we've been in Jehovah's Witnesses for Me Worldwide Church of God, and we learned that it was not correct, discipleship. We were taught wrong. And we had to just come to grips with that and come out of denial about it and then start again. And I just remember when I started again, and it was kind of an uncomfortable thing, but I remember my mother-in-law said, Angela, this is crazy what she said to me, but you just need to forget about all of this and start your life over and just start your life over and forget about all of us. And I'm like, what? Well, she was an extremely wise woman. She died when she had her child. She was she left this earth and had an experience, and ever since she came back, she had an uncanny, powerful gift of wisdom, and I knew that she was that way. So when she said that to me, I knew somehow in my heart that's what I needed to do, that she was telling me a truth. And truthfully, if I don't obey that, I ignored it, I probably wouldn't be alive today, truth be told. Now that years have gone by, it's like, oh crap. So she saved my life, and I did start over. I literally started over. But that's what we're having to do, guys. And it's not easy when you have to say goodbye to everything that you've known in the past. Your family, your kids, your way of life, your home that you built with your own hands, whatever. You had to say goodbye to it, and you have to start over. Not comfortable, but oh my gosh, so rewarding if you just let go. And that's what we need to do, is let go of what was, and the victim story and the whole thing, and say, okay, I'm starting over. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. I'm 45 years old, but you know what? So what? I'm starting over. And that is what I did. And oh, what a blessing it has been for me. The best marriage. I thought I had a great marriage before. I really did.
She was married 24 years before me.
Yeah.
And I was married 17 years.
And then I meet Dan, and it's like God saved the best for last. Even though I thought in my mind, the way I was programmed, that divorce was an absolute outright sin. You don't get divorced for any reason. But I didn't get divorced for no reason. You know, there was things that happened that I had every right to leave, but still, to be divorced was a disgrace, as with Dan too. But it's what happened. And so you just say, okay, but what do you got for me next, Lord? What do you got next for me, God? You know?
That's right.
I'm excited. What do you got?
And that's why I wanted to do this video, because there's some promises in the Bible. And it says when the prodigal son returns home, right? From the illusion of, I'm going to go out and do whatever I want. I'm going to be in this religion. I'm going to be separate from everybody. He says when you actually return home back to the right mind, that everything I have is yours. Blessing upon blessing upon blessing upon blessing. So that's what we're in the process of doing, is returning home. And Jesus also said, the things that I did, these and greater you will do. You won't hear that in any churches, by the way. Most churches won't say that. If you mention that, these and greater things you'll do, see, that would be an empowered person. That wouldn't be a crippled person, a wretched sinner. That wouldn't be any of that. That would be a person that knows who they are, a person that's made in God's image, that knows inside of him at the core is nothing but wonderful. God does not make junk. God lets us go on our journey, lets us flip-flop around in the world, do our thing, get drunk, have sex, whatever it is. We get to do whatever we want, right? We're born in here. It's free will. We're on our prodigal journey. But the promise is, if we turn back to homeostasis, we turn back to things in proper proportion, husband with one wife, moderate drinking if you like drinking, moderation in all things. If we return back to that center place, it says everything I have is yours, and the things that Jesus did, these and greater you'll do. That is not a beat down, lost soul. Broken. That is a powerful, and I want to say this, the second part of your life can be powerful. Don't go into a place that tells you what you're not anymore. You are powerful. You are magnificent. You are amazing. You're made by the hand of God. There's no one else like you. That doesn't make you better, but it makes you unique and wonderful and needed here. The person who you are at the core of your being is needed here in the world right now. Your light is needed right here and now. And anybody who tells you less than that is stunting your growth. I don't care what church you're in. If all of they're doing is praising God or praising Jesus, you're nothing, you're lost souls, don't go there. I'm just saying, you can go there if you want, but you can't be told you're trash and then be told you're wonderful and great at the same time. You've got to build from that. It's like your kid you're raising, right? You tell your kid, you say, you're really special. You're unique. Wow, you're really good at that, right? You don't spend time telling him what he's not. Go ahead, Angela.
Right. Oh, just the fact that Dan and I were at a church the other day, a Christian church. And
we visit them from time to time.
Do. And on the wall they had that,
You're broken.
We're broken. We're broken people. And then on the very next to that picture was another one that says we are holy. We are the holy ones or something. And it's like, okay, so are you broken or are you holy? And it's like, what a chaos and confusion, because right next to each other they had two completely different sayings, absolutely opposite from each other, and they clearly were saying that we here are broken but we accept you. And it's like, no, you don't want to be identifying as broken. You want to be identified as powerful and
reminded
strong
what you
and,
were.
Yes, God doesn't do that. How does that build you up? So you are beginning to hear plenty of that. What you speak, you're actually causing to come about. You're creating into your life because it's the spoken word, and it's creating. And just think about, what do you think about all the time, and then think about what's going on in my life right now. Well, it matches perfectly what you're thinking about and speaking out and saying and complaining about all the time. So if you're going around saying, I'm broken, I'm just broken, I'm just so glad this church accepts broken people. It's like, are you broken? Or are you a holy, powerful child of God, living in his power and authority that he's given you to use if you just will take it? Are you weak or are you strong? Are you holy or are you broken? You can't.
Yeah. And how do you become powerful?
It's
you know what I mean?
Yeah, screw the confusion.
Yeah. Are they building you up, or are they keeping you in a place of servitude? You got
to come here because you're broken.
Yeah, it's only grace. You're only saved by grace. That's the same as the witnesses, right? What you're doing, you ought to be doing. You're good for nothing slaves. The anointed have this, or the pastors in the church are up here, and you're just sheep. You are not sheep to be herded. You are not sheep to be herded. You are powerful. Everyone is powerful. Everyone was an idea in the mind of God before they ever came here.
And you shall receive power when the Holy Spirit comes upon you.
Power.
And God is not giving you a spirit of fear.
You're to rise up,
power.
ascend, throw that rock away from your tomb. Hopelessness, despair, victim, throw that rock away. Just hurl it in the air. Say, no, Watchtower, you're not going to bury me in a tomb. You're not putting me away forever. You're not going to get me to buy into all that bullshit and dogma shit you were telling me that I'm crap and junk and back in Satan's
world, yeah,
and all that stuff. So you hurl that thing like a disc, you just grab that damn thing.
I like this.
You throw it like that, you set off an earthquake, and you say, I have risen,
And so it is.
I have risen. I am no more that. I'm not going to ever be defined by that. I'm never going to tell anybody ever again in my life I'm a church.
And I'm not going to say I'm broken anymore.
And I'm never going to say I'm broken, and I'm never going to say I'm wretched, and I'm never going to say any of that. So anyway, when you stop that, things start moving in another direction. You'll actually start remembering who you are and why you're here and why you were created. You will. The Holy Spirit will talk to you.
Absolutely.
It will start resonating in tune with you. It'll start, just communing with you. It'll say, no, you're not junk. You were never junk.
And that creates this snowball effect.
Yeah.
Because then you start attracting different jobs, different people in your life, just everything that's more in alignment with what God is causing you to become, that's better. Then you start attracting everything in your life that's the same way. Whereas before, you're going to attract broken people, lost people, chaotic people, angry people, because that's your mindset. That's your words. That's what you're speaking into your life. Because if you're speaking that you're a piece of crap and on and on and on, you're going to attract people that are of the like mind. But if you start to say, no, God said he's not giving me a spirit of fear, but of power and love and a sound mind. And I am that. I am. And then you start attracting people that feel that way too. And then they build you up and you build them up, and you're around, more of a higher way of thinking and feeling. They call it consciousness. It's a higher consciousness. And your life just continues to go up, up, up. You're being resurrected by God. By saying what he would have you to say, which is that I don't live by fear anymore. I live by power and God's love and power and a sound mind that he gives me. That's the spirit he gives me, not the spirit of fear and all these other fear thoughts that we have. And so we're living by the right laws, the right way, God thinking. And then he raises us because we're saying yes to this. We're saying yes to this. And I want to think like that. I strive for that. Lord, help me be that way. I want to change. I want to be different. And so then, yes, my child, I'm going to resurrect you a little bit more. And every day, a little bit more. You're being resurrected as you continue down that path. It's a resurrection. Today's about resurrection.
Yeah, that's right. So, went through our death with the witnesses worldwide. We went through the death. We went through the tomb being closed off. Our anger, frustration, confusion, lost. We rolled the tomb away. We walked out, and then we ascended in our understanding. We ascended in what we thought was the real world. we ascended into a bigger picture. We maybe, it's kind of like, when you're down on the ground, you see the grass and, you see the little hill there, you see things from the ground, right? Witnesses, right? And then as you come out of that, you rise a little higher, and now you're looking at the treetops. You're seeing the world from a more expanded version, right? And then you can ascend even higher, and you can actually take a shot from a plane, you know what I mean, and say, wow, look at this thing. You can kind of see the corners of the earth, you can see cities and, fly over, but then you can take a jet, a rocket up, and you can see the actual earth, the round earth, and you're going, wow, so.
But, I feel like that Jesus, he said that, he was the first to rise, you know what I mean? He wanted to show us that you could overcome death. And he did. He overcame death. He was the first. And I just think that's kind of an amazing thing that he got to show us that. But not only that, but he showed us that he had a different kind of a body when he got through all of that, when he got through this death of the old self. And this new self arose, and it was, more ethereal than ever before. Now he could, he ate with the disciples, as you know, in that body, but he was not the same body. It was a more glorious body, but yet that he ate, but yet it was a different body. Even God is raising us to have ourselves a different body that could withstand different kind of things, even not eating for days on end, without any trouble whatsoever. As we keep growing, a lot of changes are going to be made within our own bodies, even
healings.
And this guy we saw the other night, he was a black man, and he was 72. He looked, I'm not kidding you, he looked like he was 36, and that's what the guy who interviewed him said. And they said, what are you doing? So he explained what he was doing with his eating and fasting. Like eat one meal, fast the next day. Eat the next day, fast the next. But he goes, he knew another guy, he told us, that ate one meal and then eaten up for 3 more days, and then ate and 3 more days. And that guy never had any diseases of any kind. And he looked very young, and this guy looked really young, but he said, I get sick maybe once every 3 or 4 years. And that's, I don't know, that's kind of amazing how he's been led by God to live his life this way. I'm not living my life that way, but I'm eating better than I've ever eaten before. But just think of that. I mean, God's raising him, and his consciousness, that he spoke so clear. He was so clear. It's like God drew him near as he was doing these interesting things. I mean, what are we going to see next? Every day we're seeing something different, and like, wow, I mean, I don't know.
That's the beauty. That's exactly right, Angela.
And Moses started doing his ministry at age 80.
Yeah,
Moses.
Things get better and better and better and better. That's what it says. You're going to move from glory to greater glory. You're going to just things that you never thought you could do, you're going to do.
Yeah.
You're going to perform some miracles.
Yes.
You're going to have miracles happen in your life.
You will do.
This is the second part. Once the blinders come off, right? In a sense, being in the witnesses, we had blinders on, right? We had Watchtower cataracts on our eyes.
A lot of limitation.
Limitation, narrow-mindedness.
Yeah.
Judgmental, all these things.
Yeah.
And when that big thing comes off, it's like, wow, I can see. Like the Matrix said, he says, man, my eyes hurt. He says, yeah, because you've never seen before. That's what happens, right?
Yeah.
When you come out of these Matrix, out of this ideal, that the religions offer us, these religious ideals, when the mask comes off, you can see all the boxes. I know when I got out of Jehovah's Witness, I could see all the boxes. I said, man, look at all these boxes. All these people think they're religion, So anyway.
I was just going to say, I don't know, I can't help but think about the Matrix at the very end of that. Was it the very last movie where the guy puts him with all this tar-looking stuff all over his body, thinking, I got you now, and he agreed to it. He handshook on it, and his hand starts getting taken over by this tar stuff, and his whole body's filled, and all of a sudden it just starts cracking. And all of a sudden the demons, who are those, what do you call those, Agent Smiths, all of a sudden their bodies start cracking because his bright light's coming out through every crack in this thing and breaking apart, and they're like, oh no, and all of a sudden their shell started breaking apart too, and because it affected them. So our light breaking through this covered stuff in tar, breaking up, freaked them out because suddenly their bodies are suddenly waking up. And now the light's coming through them too. Your light, his light. What's his name again? In the
Morpheus.
Morpheus. I don't think that's right. Anyway, the
Neo.
guy Neo, his light was now affecting those demons' life, and they were suddenly cracking too, and they didn't want to. They wanted to stay dark, but it's not. They can't hold it, and all of a sudden they're cracking too and becoming light. That no darkness could remain in His presence, and that's just fascinating to me.
And that's the opportunity for us.
Yeah.
We Jesus said, "You're the light of the world." I didn't say it. Dan didn't say it. You know, the Master said it, right?
Yes.
You're the light of the world.
Yes.
He said, "You're the light of the world," or not, or you can be the darkness in the world.
We can affect other people. The more we raise in light, in God's truth, which is light, it's more love and more compassion, and naturally flows. And pretty soon, everybody just feels so supported, so loved unconditionally, and all that starts cracking their facade, their false thing that they put on until no one knows who they really are. Then no one knows what that person's really thinking, but it starts cracking it, and everyone starts just to, their light starts coming out. See, it's affecting everybody. So the little bit of light that we can shed starts cracking everyone's shells, right? Just like in that movie where Neo is causing that to come about. He didn't know what was inside of him, but it affected everything. That's going to be us, guys. That's where we're heading.
The best is yet to come.
Yes,
the best is yet to come.
Yes, God is good.
You know, you have no idea.
He loves you.
We have no idea. Me and Angela, we don't know, but we know it's good. We know good is right there. Good. All our good that we could have is right here, right now.
Right.
And so we're excited to see.
Yes,
we're really excited to see the next chapter.
Yeah, next chapter.
We don't know where we're going to be, where we're going.
I don't
We just
care.
know we're leaving. And God bless this place. It's beautiful. It's on the river. It's on the Boise River. It's beautiful. But we're gonna move around a little bit.
Our family's gonna think we're nuts, but we want to do this. We want to do this.
So we just wanted to say that to you today, guys, about the resurrection.
Homeless. We don't know.
Just to, it's that time of year, and I kind of remember those stories from that friend who helped me make those turning points, helped me to understand that I had my own crucifixion, and my own resurrection, my own rolling away of the tomb. Deciding not to stay in the tomb, deciding to get out and get in the world. Angela said one day, she says, "I want to live." She was going down, she was, her husband and her separated, and she was kind of, going down, and then something inside her said, "I want to live."
Yeah, it was so strong.
Next thing you know, she's at John Elway training, and I'm at a John Elway training. We were selling cars, and we met each other. Just that one change of mind. That's all it takes, guys. Just a little change. I want to live. I want to know who I am. I want to know why I was created. I want to know why I was here. And you can ask God. You can just talk to God. Just your higher self. I don't care what you call him. Don't get lost in the name. You know what I mean? Just say a little prayer. Who am I? Why am I here? Why'd you put me here? This seems like hell. Show me something good in it.
Yeah.
And then it will.
And maybe don't call him Jehovah. I'm just okay. I'm not an ex-Jehovah's Witness. I'm an ex-Worldwiter. But my observation is maybe call just Father or something.
Yeah, God.
I don't know. I wouldn't say Jehovah. I just wouldn't. But I just it's exciting, all of this.
It is.
It really, really is. And God's got good plans for you.
Oh yeah.
He's got good plans for you. We just like Dan was talking about that moment where it was a bad day. It was a very bad day, and I don't think I wanted to live anymore. At this point, I was alone. I was dead alone, and I'm telling you that something in the depth of my soul screamed out at me, or through me, or in my head, "No, I want to live." That's what it was, so strong. It was like a fire of words. And from that point forward, it's almost as if God tapped me on the head and said, "You're going to be given the strength to begin to live again." And from that moment on, I started working towards living again, and did all these different things to get my mind working again, and to start making steps towards doing something, anything, instead of dying. I got busy living instead of dying.
Yeah.
And it was a decision that came from my soul, the something I didn't know existed inside, but it was very odd. But it caused me to begin to try to live again. And I did. And it was not that long, less than a year, that I think at that point I met Dan. And so I did. Yeah.
So let your crucifixion be your biggest blessing. Let it open your eyes. Let you see life anew through different eyes. Hopefully, if you haven't already, maybe you'll meet the love of your life. You'll do the thing you were meant to do, whatever that is. There's a million things you can do in this life to serve, to give, to be the gift that you're here to be. So just allow it. Ask for guidance. Listen to friends. Sometimes good friends will tell you, hey, you're pretty gifted at
Or
that.
they might get you a book.
Yeah, somebody hands you a book
movie.
and you go, wow. Or they send you over to a movie, and you're going to get all sorts of serendipities or synchronicities where you meet different people and you
God
get
is
a new
divinely
opportunity.
guiding
Oh yeah,
everything, guys.
You're being guided.
The
trust
real
me.
God, the
You just
loving
didn't come
God.
out of there to be thrown away.
No.
And to be abandoned. That's
No,
so
no.
short term. It can be short term.
It can be.
And
if you die like I was wanting to die at that point.
And if you want to live, guys, you will live. If you want to prosper, you will prosper. You will. And that's promised to us.
Jesus died and then he rose again and he lived again. And came out of that.
There's
too.
life after alcohol. If you got a problem with it.
Life
there's
after loss of all family.
After all family, Angela,
Yeah.
me and my family.
Still gone. Out of
Still
my life.
gone.
All children, grandchildren, all not my life. 20 years now. 20 years.
So anyway, guys, that's it. We're glad to be back.
Yes, yay!
Glad to be sharing with you guys. Glad, hopefully you're still there when the video comes out. Hopefully you guys are still around. There might be nobody there. It's been a while.
We'll start again.
Yeah.
We'll start again.
Yeah. So anyway, guys, we look forward to doing more videos. And thanks for all you guys who've checked up on us. A lot of people have said, hey, where'd you go? What are you guys doing? Where are you at? So we really appreciate that. And know you're loved. Know people are your friends. And it just feels good. So anyway, guys, that's it.
Yep.
And we will see you on the next video. Feel free to email us if you want. You've got our email, some of you. And if you want to connect or, do a little show with us, that'd be great. And we look forward to serving you, okay?
Yes,
and
let us arise, all
yes,
right? Let us
arise.
Woo! Yeah.
All right. See you soon.
Right, love you.
Love you.